In recent days, we have observed an explosion of NFT projects. Various implementation of EIP 721 lead to the idea of different Ethereum standards for NFTs. If you want to learn about an upcoming NFT privilege management standard that is proposed to Ethereum blockchain, continue watching. Welcome to PEEPanEIP episode 86. Today we will discuss EIP 5496 multi-privilege management NFT extension with Allister Capati. EIP 5496 is a standard track ERC created on July 30th, currently in review status. In the next few minutes, we will have an overview of the proposal, learn about use cases, and project implementations, if any. But before we dive into the proposal, may we have a quick introduction of the guest and his journey with the Ethereum ecosystem. Welcome, Allister.
Thank you, Pooja. Thanks for having me. Yeah, a little bit about myself. My background is originally in mobile and gaming. I started at Sony PlayStation, where I helped execute strategic business development deals. So I come to the space with a little bit of more of a business intuition. Some of the things we did were launch an in-game advertising network, did a strategic deal with T-Mobile Hotspot to get PlayStation Portables online. And after that, I did I'm a little bit of a serial entrepreneur and launched a mobile social network, made a few Google and Apple featured apps. And what brings me here today was my foray into blockchain and Web3. And it was really just kind of a light bulb moment, just as it has been for a lot of people, of wow, this can really drive more equitable outcomes using technology than ever before, right? We talk about like a user-owned web, and this technology just has so much promise. And of course, like me, just kind of being the entrepreneur at heart that I am, I just jumped right into it, did a few NFT projects to play around and really wrap my head around the whole system and the whole process. Played around with some of Protocol Labs' IPFS and other protocols because I was just a big fan. Even just did some thought experiments around DAOs. So more relevant for today, obviously a big fan of Ethereum and the whole EIP process, and super happy and grateful to be here with the cat herder community and you, Pooja, to kind of talk about this idea.
Sounds good. It looks like gaming and blockchain goes hand in hand, and we will probably look some of the implementation of this proposal. I'm hoping it is coming from the gaming industry itself, and maybe able to talk a little bit more about the EIP process with you. So beginning the talk, let's just jump in to the proposal. Let's peep in.
Sounds good. So we're EIP 5496, a multi-privilege management NFT extension looking to bring added utility to NFTs. And just a quick look through our agenda today. We'll go through some of the motivation and the context behind what we're thinking, some of the key properties, who would be interested in this new protocol, side by side, and a look at the interface for ERC 5496, a little bit more about me and a contact, and open up the floor for a Q&A. So to this point, NFT utility has been a disposable or one-time use instance, or a rental or in-game basis. What we'd like to propose is something that is something for real world utility. So EIP 5496 proposes a standard for holding multiple privileges for a given NFT and the ability to reward several end users with similar privileges. let me talk about the motivation behind that. So in 2021, you may go to a site, maybe it's an OpenSea, you see some artwork that you like, you see a profile pic you like, you may go ahead and buy that and claim ownership of it. But the amazing thing here is in 2021, that wasn't us here in the Web3 community. This was the public at large. And that was a very, very big inflection point, and it introduced the rest of the world to this notion of what an NFT is and what that means for ownership. So now this next pivotal phase will be about demonstrating the digital ownership NFTs represent. In fact, means utility, and the connecting of the dots that'll benefit the industry as a whole. So to take a step back and talk about the motivation behind this and some of what we're thinking. Even in today's world, NFTs already have a sort of gravity. Even though that first phase that we saw, where it was about going on a marketplace and acquiring some piece of artwork or a profile picture, and for most cases that was about the conversation. Even in those cases, even in that limited fashion, we're already seeing brands and companies really take the idea of an NFT and run with it. So in a way, NFTs are being used as a sort of gravity, a conversation starter for a real life event or real life experience. EIP-5496 will make that action already organically happening much easier. So this means bridging the digital world and the real world, new touch points for community and new distribution models, enabling ownership, and leasing of multiple real life rewards and perks via associated NFT privileges that'll welcome in new and novel business models. So some quick examples of what we've already seen transpire, where NFTs are acting as a central conversation piece. There is the CryptoPunks Tiffany's collaboration. There was the Bored Ape Yacht Club collaboration with Adidas. And recently, there was, for New York Fashion Week, the Web2 payment company Afterpay. They did a collaboration that allowed you to mint a free NFT from your favorite fashion designer and either use that NFT to be able to go to a real life fashion show, or maybe instead you would choose to get a fashion piece from that designer as part of that NFT mint. They also threw in cool things like a 6-month subscription to Tidal, the music service, and those type of things. So we're already seeing that NFTs are becoming about intent and identity. This is who I am. This is what I like. This is a representation of me. And that really kind of encapsulates this idea of digital ownership. So here's a little look at EIP-5496. We'll dive into it a little more. It's multi-privilege, like we say. So you can have multiple perks or rewards associated with it. It's shareable, which we'll go into more in a second. And of course, it has backwards compatibility. So about the interface, let's just walk through it quickly. There, as you can see, there are 3 events. There is the privileged assigned event. So this is emitted when the current holder of a privilege is changed. There is the privilege transfer, That's emitted when the current holder of a privilege is transferred. And there's the privilege total changed. So that's the last event. And that happens when an owner wants to make a new privilege ID for that NFT. You can also see that there are 3 functions in the interface. There is set privilege. That's a key function and the only writing function in our protocol. That sets the privilege and transfers a privilege and sets the expiry date for that privilege. The other 2 functions are view read-only methods, privilege expiry date, and to see if a given user has the privilege. So for the interface for Cloneable, that's part of our solution and that's optional. It's 1 event and 1 function. It lets you share a privilege as clonable, and others can clone that same privilege. So a quick business case example of what this could be: imagine a buy one get one promotion from a local business, or a pizza coupon from a local pizzeria. They're indifferent to how many people get this particular perk or reward, but they're also happy to spread it out as much as they can. So again, we think that's an example of being able to bridge the digital world and the real world with some real world value. So let's go into the key properties behind our protocol. It's multi-use and multi-privilege, meaning you can hold multiple privileges to that NFT, and you have the ability to use that same privilege in multiple occurrences. So think of exclusive access tied to an NFT, right? So in my example of the Afterpay New York Fashion Week collaboration, it would have been much easier to just do this on chain and better optimized to show like, hey, person XYZ has access to this particular show. This particular show, because it's a special event and it's a one-time privilege. But there may be other events that would leverage this ability. So there's the one-to-many concept. So this is awarding similar privileges to multiple recipients. So in the earlier example of a buy one, get one promotion, this would be a handy use case for that. There is NFT privilege leasing. So temporarily transfer privilege rights with a predetermined expiry. And then, so it's essentially renting out that perk or award as seen fit. And backwards compatibility, of course, compatible with any NFT that follows the EIP 721 standard. So who would use this potential ERC-5496 token standard? Let's kind of go through the ecosystem. Consumers, of course, if we're talking about a Web3 driven model and passing down the value directly to the end users, the consumers, they would benefit. As we went over, brands and also influencers and creators, they'll have a new tool in their tool belt with the added capabilities. Brands will be better able to interact and reward their most valued customers through special offers, giveaways, special events, things of that nature. Influencers and creators, they can reward their most loyal users, followers, with special perks and access. And for dApps and developers, they can attract, incentivize, retain users through these same special events, some token distributions and more. They can have a little more flexibility in what they're offering, especially because we're talking about bringing things on chain that have been, to this point, a manual process, a one-off process. quick look at a side-by-side. As we can see, ERC-5496 has the attribute of being able to hold multiple perks, rewards, privileges, and this notion of a one-to-many use case would be available on 5496, where it's currently not available for 721. And yeah, just I think just to reiterate, I'm very excited, and it really literally gets me up in the morning to think about just all the things that blockchain technology and Web3 are going to enable. And it's exciting to me to just try to be on the forefront of that, be a part of it. And without further ado, I'd like to open it up to any questions. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you so much, Allister. That was a nice presentation. Actually, it was very interesting to see that this EIP probably is a very good fit for existing mainstream project. Generally, when a proposal comes into picture, we think that what kind of projects may probably implement it, and we always imagine of something coming up in future. But this seems like this has a lot of real world use cases, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, Pooja, I kind of wanted, that's what I meant earlier. I want to try to introduce some of the things I've learned on the business side of like, what are kind of the ways we can connect the dots and really be that bridge between what we're trying to build here as part of Web3 and what they're doing today, right? Because I think it's very obvious they're very interested in this, right? NFTs as a conversation starter, NFTs and the idea of digital ownership as a means to really seeing mass adoption, getting people on board.
Right. I do have a few questions collected, and I would like to maybe pick up a couple of them with you, though you have explained it pretty well, but just in case for people to get a better understanding of the use cases and implementations that we are talking about here. I understand NFT is about unique possession of token, and it's mostly about ownership. When it comes to EIP 721, the NFT standard, that also talks about basic functionality to track and transfer NFT. So can you maybe explain with real use of shareable NFT in simpler terms? You did mention about Tiffany, Adidas, and Afterpay. Maybe any favorite use case that you can talk a little bit more about?
Sure. So we walked through some of those examples, right? Of I was a big fan of what the New York Fashion Week Afterpay collaboration was. What I neglected and forgot to mention was a part of the proceeds from that collaboration actually went to nonprofits and local causes. So I think that was in very good spirit of Web3. This general idea of a within the code, we call it a privilege, but in the outside world, we can think of it as a perk or a reward. This is something that's knowing what I know is very close for brands and businesses and agencies. It's what they commonly go to of like, how can we make something exciting? How can we build our own momentum around a particular campaign we're trying to do, particular idea we're trying to do? And again, it goes back to this idea of NFTs as a driving force for community, and using that to really kind of just be that special lever, right? Because that New York Fashion Week collaboration, to me, it was a really great case of a really nice NFT project, because it brought together the idea of ownership, the idea of exclusivity, and that's tied to community, right? Because you're a part of this NFT minting that they did, you were a part of this community that came around for this special event, which was New York Fashion Week, and for these local charities. And it really just kind of almost, in my mind, kind of like just amped up what an NFT can do, because now you have all these associations with it of these, again, perks and rewards. Almost my gaming background, it's like these special abilities that come with this virtual item, right? This virtual good. I can't help but think of it like that. Like you almost get like these little powers, superpowers.
Right. So when it comes to set privilege, I was thinking like what kind of privileges could be set. But when we think it from gaming point of view, I can maybe able to relate the different privileges, those are there. All right. I have a question that may be needed for clarification here. When we talk about shareable NFT, and here it is multi-privilege shareable NFT, how do we distinguish that from a fungible token?
Sure. So it's this idea of a shareable privilege, not a shareable NFT. So you're not sharing the NFT itself, you're sharing an attribute, a perk or reward of that NFT. So imagine just being able to keep coming back to like video game examples, but you know, like you want to play like Zelda or something. Imagine how great it would be that you're playing Zelda with someone and you can lend your sword that you've worked on and crafted to someone else. So that's a common use case for gaming, right? We already talked in the beginning how gaming is, we already know gaming is going to drive a lot of adoption of technology in general, especially it's no different for Web3. In this case, when we talk about the things that really excite us about bridging the real world and the digital world, imagine someone who's been, let's say they've been given a special yachting sailboat trip. They may not really like the water. Maybe they get seasick. But because of their NFT access, they were given that perk, that ability. So if we share that, if we allow that to be passed on and shared, almost like a pass through to someone that person knows in real life, that maybe they're a big nautical head, maybe they're really into the open water and they would really enjoy that, right? I don't necessarily want to give my NFT to that person, but I'll be more than happy to give that perk, that reward to that person.
That make a lot of sense. Yeah, I think breaking the terms here was very important. It's not about the NFT that is being shareable, it's about the privileges those are being shared.
Right.
All right. That's fair. I have a question for maybe a future implementer of this proposal. Is there any specific security consideration that a project implementing this proposal should consider?
Yeah, maybe Jeremy can get into that.
Yes. Actually, there is no side effect, and because this EIP just brought two new features attached to the ERC 721, and let's say the security level is same as the EIP 721. And actually, we did not check anything about the ownership, mint, or burn, or transfer. Original ERC 721. That's it. Because you just have to transfer your privilege instead of transferring ownership, right?
Did that come through okay, Pooja?
And so, sorry. One more thing is, because we may suggest the project to consider implementing EIP 1271. You know, that's a standard signature validation method for contract, along with our EIP 5496. You know, that's the signature for the smart contract. And we may consider to implement this one for us.
All right. Okay. Yeah, just to reiterate here, what I understood is like this EIP is just an extension to 721, probably adding more functions and data structure and helping more with the utilities of NFTs, as that was there in the beginning of the presentation. And yeah, yeah. Thank you. I think I have one more question related to the EIP status. Either of you can answer that. Currently, EIP 5496 is in review, which is an elementary status for a proposal. And a proposal can live in this status for as long as needed to come up with final specs that is close to final, if not final. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about the readiness of this proposal to step into the next status. When can we expect seeing this proposal into the last call?
Actually, we already, created, a pull request. So you can see that one, right? So the type is for that new pull request is the change status to the last call, right? And I hope you can give some more suggestions. Of course, we have any feedback from any developers or your communities, right? So that's actually our question I want to ask you. So if we say we are ready, to move to the last call. So what should we do? Except this presentation, right? After this presentation, of course, we will follow the comments because I already got some comments and follow the comments and fix the files they asked or code they asked. And so what's the next step? Or just wait for some feedback or some guys to make some decision? Can you answer us?
Yeah, right. I think before I could answer your question here, I should have asked another question from the team here is about the implementation. I did see some reference implementation in JS and even in the Solidity. I was wondering if there is a real implementation in any of the project by any chance you guys are aware of.
So we're making a demo that we hope to have out on the testnet soon that everyone can check out, play with, and give feedback on, iterate, and we're very much looking forward to that. I think there's the cool thing about like these new projects, whenever you roll out a new technology, even after it finally hits production and it's actually out in the real world, that you actually don't even know what cool things can even just kind of spring up from it. So that's actually personally one of the things I'm really looking forward to. It's like, oh wow, like we didn't even think about that idea. Like, oh wow, look at that. So I'm personally looking forward to like those kind of moments. Jeremy, was there anything else?
Yes, actually, we are, already make not already, this demo still ongoing, right? We may launch on the test net, and once it's ready, we will, of course, publish in public and let everyone to try it. Okay.
That is interesting.
Yeah, in short term, it's almost ready.
That is interesting and good to know. Generally speaking, we have seen a proposal backed up by real implementation has more chances of moving towards final, and sooner they can be moved towards final because people have real implementation right in front of them, so they can actually feel like how it will work. So if there is a demo ready, and if you would like to share it on testnet, that is really nice to have. Probably we can have this mentioned on the discussion to thread. Generally speaking, there is no defined timeline around moving from review to last call. This is mostly on author. But it is recommended that proposal is staying there for another 14 days, hoping there is no major spec changes recommendation coming in the way from the community. So if we have the demo live and if we receive a few feedback, positive, negative, whatever it is, and then we try to move the proposal into last call based on all positive responses. And if there are anything that may need to be incorporated, as Allister said, that we never know what new cool feature can come up. So if a little bit of here and there may be able to help this proposal go and be able to adopt it by many other new projects, I guess then it will be a real form of a standard rather than one plain implementation of that.
Yeah, the more the merrier, right? So that's the whole point of this, right? Just getting a standard out there that everyone is aboard with. and excited about and eager to use. Like, so we're all about that.
Right. As of now, I do not see much of discussion in the discussion to thread. I was just wondering if there is any other place for discussing this proposal. Otherwise, we generally recommend people to come to the FEM page and leave their feedback, comments, and thoughts.
I think that's our chosen area as well. We're not crazy about centralization, but in this case, we're crazy about centralization there, right? So just keep it all in that place.
That's a very good use case of centralization. Right. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, actually, yes, we would like to have discussion at a central place where people know that what's going on, both the party who are developing this proposal and also people who are trying to implement, and even the user, and if they have comments and thoughts. So I'm hoping that after the release of this episode, we are going to add it over there in the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician page. Probably people will follow it and yeah, come back and leave more feedback. I have one last question related to the EIP process. I met Felix, my first contact for this EIP, during EIP Authors Office Hour. EIP Authors Office Hour is a bi-weekly meeting organized by Ethereum cat herders with the EIP editor Sam Wilson for new authors willing to document standard for Ethereum blockchain. As I understand, there are many questions that may come up to a new author's mind when they are trying to document something for Ethereum standard. So I'd like to have some feedback from author's point of view. How did you find the process so far? And if you have any suggestions to maybe extend the help to new EIP authors and improve the existing process, especially for ERC category proposals.
Yeah, you're someone, I just have to tell you really quick, Pooja, you're someone who's just very near and dear to me in your process oriented, you know, like you're just asking for feedback. How can we do this better? And just thank you for thinking the way you do. I can see why cat herd is very aptly named, but the cat herding group has the perfect person leading the charge. One other quick piece of feedback, Pooja, the intro, I like the intro. Don't change it. It's a very good intro with the music and everything. So I guess one little quick piece of feedback is EIP-1 is currently a little bit vague. It could be a little more detailed to direct authors on exactly what the next steps could be. I think that was the only real thing we could think of.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, there are a few documents around the process and implementation of the process that is being followed by EIP-1, but we cannot have everything linked in EIP-1, though we will try to make sure that related documents are more available for people. Like we have documented, Ethereum cat herders have published a few blogs on EIP statuses and showing the network upgrade process as well. That is relevant for core EIPs, not for ERCs, but we try to share this information with the community. However, I understand that if it is not there in EIP-1, sometimes it is hard to find. So I will like to bring it up with EIP editors if they have consideration of having some external links added there.
Sounds good.
All right. It's almost time to wrap up. Is there anything that you would like to share with Ethereum community and maybe talk about this proposal in specific?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Pooja. I guess just to wrap up the thought, first of all, thank you for watching with us. We had a few technical snafus and that kind of led to some false starts, but we got here. I think more than ever, NFTs, to echo an earlier point, NFTs are really becoming about intent and identity. And when I think of a singular tool that could bridge the real world and the digital world, NFTs to me are the perfect tool for that. Here's who I am. Here's what I like. Here is who I am in the digital world. And guess what? I like to do a lot of the same things in the real world, and I'm interested in the same things in the real world. So we believe our proposal is a great way to really help bring that one step closer. And thank you very much for everyone for just hearing us out.
Well said. I have seen a lot of use cases of NFTs, and I feel like NFT could be one asset of blockchain that can bring or maybe bridge the Web 2 and Web 3 world.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Allister, Jeremy, Felix, and the entire team who joined us to talk about the upcoming standard for NFT, EIP-5496. I look forward to this EIP being implemented in different decentralized projects and finally added as a standard to the Ethereum repository. We appreciate your contribution. On this note, for our viewers and listeners, thanks for following the proposal with us. Should you have any further questions, share it with authors on the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician link added in the description. Let us know which proposal you would like to be discussed in this show next. Leave your comments and suggestions. Talk to you next week with another NFT proposal, EIP-5606 Multiverse NFTs. Till then, keep sharing your love with Ethereum cat herders. Cheers.